Hi, Kitchen Kings and Queens. So, we were going to have a barbecue last weekend, and the weather did not cooperate. So, I actually switched it to this weekend. So, I'm preparing for my barbecue, and I'm going to make a couple dips. The dip that I'm going to make here is my version of sour cream and onion dip. And this dish is a little bit more complicated than some of the dishes or some of the recipes that you might find, but I'm going to tell you, it's worth the extra effort, especially the cooking of the onions. That is really going to take this onion dip from good to wow. Don't get me wrong, the Lipton soup onion mix or onion soup mix that makes the dip, that's great. That's delicious. But this is the stuff of dreams. This dip. If you like onions, if you're like my friend Bobby and you don't like onions, then you probably will not enjoy this. But if you like onion or sour cream and onion dip, then you will enjoy this. And the the dip is actually called California dip. I don't know. I just found that out recently. So that's actually where what the name of the dip is. It's not actually called sour cream and onion dip. It's called uh, California dip. Why? Probably because Lipton soup. Well, actually, Lipton soup was in New Jersey, so I really am not sure what the connection is between onions, dip, and California. But whatever it is, it's delicious. So I'm the other thing that's kind of different about my version of this dip too is that I use multiple types of onions. So most recipes call for, even if you make it from scratch, a lot of them call for dehydrated minced onion, which you can get like in the spice aisle, which is great. It works really well for this because the moisture from the sour cream and mayonnaise, if you use that as well, that rehydrates the onions, so it becomes a really nice onion dip. But mine uses three different types of onions. So I have a regular yellow onion here. I have a sweet onion here, and I'm going to use some shallots. And I'm also going to kind of play with the texture too, because I'm going to use those French fried onions and shallots as kind of a topping for this when I garnish it. So I'll show you that as well. Okay, so I have one whole sweet onion, one whole yellow onion, and I'm going to use two shallots here. Okay, and a lot of this is going to you can mince this by hand and like use your knife skills. It's a great way to practice your knife skills if you want to build up your knife skills. Definitely do it this way. But because these are going to be in the dip, I'm going to just puree them in the food processor. Okay, so I have the food processor set up over here, and I'm going to just keep those shallots at the same size, just because they're relatively the same size as the chunks of onions, so I don't have to cut them up. Though you want everything to be kind of the same size in the food processor, so that it'll process at the same rate. Okay, and I'm going to use the pulse function of the food processor, so that will help too. Okay, so I'm going to just put all this in there. I have to get the blade. Give me 1 second here. Okay. See if the cord will reach. Yes, it will for this one. Okay, so I'm going to bring the food processor over, fit it with the cutting blade, and then I'm just going to put the pieces of onion in there. Maybe these I will cut in half. Okay. And then we're just going to pulse. And it actually looks great. So we are ready to go over to the stove. So I'm going to switch the camera and we're going to go over to Okay. So you may have noticed this pan from another recent episode. This is one of my Calphalon pans. So I'm going to use that. We'll talk more about Calphalon, but they are really good pans for this kind of thing because they're not non-stick, but they have like a non-stick properties. So you don't have to worry about like the non-stick component, but it will give you that same reaction. Okay, so we're going to just put all of this onion into the oil. And this is a low and slow process, okay? So we're not going to do this quickly. We're going to let these onions just kind of sit and saute in the pan. The more that happens naturally, the more depth of flavor that you'll build. So we're looking for really jammy caramelized onions here. That's going to give this dish a real good depth of flavor. And this looks like a lot of onions, and it is, but you know, onions cook down. So this will all get taken down by the caramelization process. And that's going to really accentuate the sweetness of these onions. And that's why I like to use a kind of a mixture of onions, because the shallots have almost a cross between a garlic and onion flavor. The sweet onions, of course, give a sweet taste to it. And then the yellow onions give that traditional depth of onion flavor. Okay. So we're going to just leave this go. I'm going to check on it from time to time, but we're just going to basically let this cook down until it is much, like probably an eighth of the size is what it will wind up looking like. Okay, so we'll come back when this is all cooked down, which is going to be quite a while. So we'll be back and then we'll prepare the mixture. Okay, I'm back. We're not done yet, but I just wanted to show you something. I let this, kind of sit and do its thing for a little bit, and you can see here that some of it is sticking to the bottom. Do not worry about that, okay? Just take the onion mixture and use it to remove that fond, okay? It will, see this side of the pan? That's what it looked like before I moved the onions around. This is what you want. This is part of the caramelization process. And the rest of the onions can kind of sop up that caramelization on there. So don't worry about that. Okay. If you see that and it gets you antsy pants, don't get worried about it. Okay. It'll all come off and it's going to build and add flavor to the onions. You just have to keep moving it, and you have to keep an eye on this because I had this on low heat, like medium low heat, and it was doing its thing. So you have to keep them moving, and that will prevent that from happening. Okay, but it's a very easy solution to fix, and it's going to add to what you're going for here because this is the color of what you want, and that color comes from this caramelization of these sugars here. Okay, so just wanted to show you that before we get to these all cooked down. Okay, okay, our onions are done, so I'm gonna take them off the heat and I'm gonna put them in this bowl to cool down. We can't do anything with these onions until they have cooled completely, because what we're mixing them with is sour cream, mayonnaise, and some cream cheese and some other spices that we'll talk about. But you definitely don't want to put anything this hot into those other things because that's can lead to food safety issues. So I'm gonna leave my pan there, and we're just gonna kind of spread them up the side here just so that they have more surface area to cool off. Okay, and then once that's all cooled, then we'll come back and we'll make the remaining mixture. And then the key to this, the reason why I'm making this tonight as opposed to tomorrow for the barbecue, is because this needs to set up. The longer it sits, which overnight would be a great, the better it's going to be to meld the flavors. So we're going to let this cool, and then we're going to assemble this, and then we're going to put this in the refrigerator overnight. Hi, Kitchen Kings and Queens. Okay, so we have our onions have cooled down. We have a half a cup of softened cream cheese in here. We have a half a cup of mayonnaise and a half a cup of sour cream. Okay, and I'm going to just put that in there and use my little spatula here. These things, they're called like a Wonder Cup, or they have all different types of names, but they are great because they allow you to put liquid measurements in there really easily. Okay, so I'm just going to get this started. And I'm going to add some other seasonings. I'm going to add 2.5 teaspoons of soy sauce, low sodium soy sauce in there. So that's going to give us our salt. Then I have a mixture of a half a teaspoon of pepper, freshly ground pepper, a half a teaspoon of sugar, a half a teaspoon or three quarters of a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. So those are going to be our seasonings that we're going to add to this mixture. Okay, so that's now blended, and just going to stir this in, make sure everything's incorporated from the sides here. And then we're going to fold in the onions, and then this is done, essentially. We'll just let it sit and wait overnight, and that's going to give it a nice, deep flavor. Okay, I'm going to eject my beaters. I'm going to take my onions. Don't want to waste any of those onions. Okay, because we spent a lot of time caramelizing them, and we just want to make sure we get everything. Okay, so I'll take that, and then we're just going to fold this in. And that's it. So it's not a hard dish. It's just a dish that requires the time of caramelizing the onions, okay? And that is pretty time consuming. It takes about a half an hour to really get them down to the right texture and the right color, and not to burn them. So it's not a process that you can really speed up, okay? There's no way to make it go any faster. Okay? So that is the key. And as with most things with cooking, the time it takes to do them is worth the effort. Okay? So it seems like a lot of work for a dip that you're just going to put chips in, and you might think, okay, well, I could just open a can or a packet and mix it all together. And you can, and that's going to be delicious. But this is something special. This is a dish for like a really nice experience. So the first time I made this dish, I made it for Thanksgiving. It was a little appetizer for Thanksgiving. My brother absolutely adored this dip. So my nephew's birthday is coming up next weekend. So I'm gonna hopefully save some of this and give it to him for his son's birthday. I think that he'll really enjoy that. So, yeah, so that's the dip. It's going to change and smooth out and get better. To top it, I'm going to top it with these fried shallots. And I also have these fried onions that I'm also going to top it with. So those will be the garnish, but I don't want to put them on it until I'm ready to serve. Because if you put it on now, they'll get soft and they'll just kind of blend into this whole dish. So it's much better to wait until you're ready to serve it. You just pop them on top. I'm also going to put these a in a serving platter. Let me actually get that so you can see it because they're pretty cool. They're like a stainless steel serving platter. Let me get that. So these are very big in the 60s. And I think I'll use this bowl. Just this one fits on there as well, but and it's a little bit bigger. But this one, it's just kind of ideal. And you could take this off. You put the dip. You can leave the dip in the refrigerator, and then when you're ready, you can just put it, put the chips around. I'm going to use my very favorite chips, which are called Middlesworth. They're from central Pennsylvania. They're really good chips. These are the kettle cooked ones. These chips are very unique. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen a chip like it other than them because their chips are fried in beef tallow. So that's really unique. That's actually what McDonald's French fries used to be fried in beef tallow. So it gave them like this really delicious beef tallow has a very beefy flavor. So it just makes the chips taste really beefy, which will be great because I'm serving hamburgers and hot dogs and some grilled chicken. So it'll go well with that. Um, okay, so I'll see you tomorrow and we will do another uh, couple of things. I'm going to do another dip and I'm also going to make a pretty interesting potato salad. This is going to be a new idea for me. Uh, I'm going to actually roast the potatoes and I'm going to really heavily season them. So it'll be kind of a similar concept to this onion dip. So the heavy seasoning will kind of permeate throughout the mayonnaise, which will give the salad like a much deeper flavor. So that's something that I'm going to try out because, potato salad, even when it's great, it's a pretty simple and can sometimes be pretty bland. I think that with a couple, seasonings and seasoning the potatoes and roasting them, I think that could develop some interesting layers to the potato salad. So that's what I'm going to be working on tomorrow. So bye for now, Kitchen Kings and Queens.